Bobby Shoemaker, Andrew Calvano, Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge for Saturday, December 17th, Andrew. It's Gulfstream Park, Race 10. It's the $100,000 South Beach Stakes, going 7.5 furlongs on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. It's a field of 9, and Sandiva, the ultra-classy Sandiva, is your 2-1 morning line favorite. It's much of the same that, we talked about in Gulfstream Park Race 9. When you're talking Todd Pletcher, obviously expect this horse to be a low price, but unlike the last race in Gulfstream Park Race 9, in this race, in Race 10, certainly the horse to beat. I mean, the class of this horse, and Todd Pletcher gets Javier Castellano. The only knock, and the reason I'm playing against this horse, is that I don't see a lot of pace in this race. And from my standpoint, I think this 9 is going to have to come from way off the pace to win this race. And again, a short price favorite. 2-1 is an afterthought when it comes to this horse when they leave the gate. At a very low price, a horse is going to have to make up a lot of ground to win the race. I think you could argue a play against. Your thoughts on the 9, and more importantly, your thoughts on the pace of this race.
Yeah, let's get into it. Number 9, Sandiva, obviously, the classiest girl in this group, and definitely deserving of the favorite, but 2-1 won't happen. More likely seeing 7-5, something around there. And you mentioned the fact that this one won't have much pace to run into, and that's going to be a big thing when it comes to my top selection. But staying more on Sandiva, I think this one's just going to have to work a little too hard, a little more than she's used to in the past, and I think that's gonna be her downfall today. But nonetheless, one to respect. And actually, moving on to Sandiva into the second choice, Tuda Posse, I feel like this is a very similar favorite as far as running styles. I think Tuda Posse is going to have even more of a difficult run to get up there. So I think you have 2 favorites in this race that are very, very vulnerable that should lead you into picking a horse at a number here. And, going into the pace, and let's just break it down into my selection, I see no pace in this race at all. I think this is a race where you definitely want to be on the front end and stay there. And I only really see one horse capable of doing so, and that's number 4, Midnight Miley. Second off a layoff here for Julia Carey, a respectable horse north of the border. Comes down, the buyers are increasing. I like that a lot, albeit this one races a lot on synthetic, and sometimes synthetic to turf doesn't really work out as much as we like it to see. And everybody says, oh, synthetic to turf, it's the same thing. As far as numbers, but it's very difficult. And I will say, the trainer is not having the best time moving from synthetic to turf. But I really like the move that this one's making. If you go 2 back on the turf, the Grade 2 Canadian, I believe we actually covered that race with the Sita. This one was just way over her head in class, and I like the way that she's coming back down here to an overnight stakes. So it gets the class relief. I think the distance hits this one right in between the eyes. Jose Lezcano, my man, when it comes to value, gets the nod here. I really think this one could bring him into the winner's circle. Like I said, no speed at all. This one runs reasonable fractions. I actually can see this one opening up a little bit on this race and telling these short price favorites who are going to be coming from the clouds, come and get it. And at 15-1, to be honest, I can see this horse going up to 20-1. Even if this horse is in the lead at the top of the stretch and gets nipped and hangs on for third, something like that, I'll be okay from a window perspective. And I honestly think it's worth a chance to try to wire this group here at such a big number. So we'll roll Midnight Miley, and let's get in the 15-1 range.
I know that Jose Lezcano won for us a couple of weeks back on a horse that we had the same, and he did it from off the pace. But if there's a strength to Jose Lezcano's game, it's races in which he can be aggressive out of the gate and get a horse to the lead and try to steal on the front end. And if there's ever going to be a horse that's going to win on this turf course the way it's playing right now, from wire to wire, it's certainly going to be the 4, Andrew. I respect your pick. I understand it. I obviously considered the horse for a while because, as you mentioned, there's just no pace in here, but I just don't think the 4 is good enough. So I looked for something that I thought would be forwardly placed, a horse that I thought may not have to do as much work as the 7 and the 9 is concerned, and that's actually the 1 horse, second off the claim for Christopher Clement. Joel Rosario is aboard. I think it's Exili, something of that nature when it comes to the name of that horse. This horse ran a 1:20 time form U.S. speed figure last time out at a mile, stalked the pace. I think the horse probably could be 3 to 4 lengths off the lead today. and Joel Rosario can get aggressive going into that final turn and get first run and try to beat horses that you could argue are better, such as the 7 and the 9. Clement's a beast on the turf. He gets one of his favorite riders to get on this horse. I think the one post, Andrew, actually helps this horse. We talk about this all the time. The one post forces you to be aggressive from the gate if your horse has any tactical speed, and it's obvious that this horse, based on his last effort, or her last effort, does have some tactical speed to her. I think she has every right to set second or third. Just don't be too far off. If you're 5-6 lengths off or something of that nature, you're not aggressive and you're letting something else, stalk that pace, I think you're going to leave yourself with too much to do. But at the end of the day, I think Joel understands the pace, can break well, be aggressive, let the 4 do his thing, and I'm just praying the 4 will come back to me. But I think the 1 has every right to steal this race once she passes the 4 horse and get to the wire before the 9 and the 7 get them.
Without a doubt, Bob, and a lot of respect to your pick, and let me break this down. As far as, me, well, obviously plays more horizontal wagering. I'm throwing out both favorites in here, and I'm going 1-4. I'm going 1-4, 1-4 all. I'm going to try. I'm not even going to play the favorites here because I want to hit the all button in the last leg because I know I'll be alive to a lot if I make it that far. I'm going 1-4. Let me tell you why I like your horse, Bob. Last out, off the long layoff, off the trader switch. Clement doesn't really do too well first time out with his horses. Right. But this one was a nice spot, 93 buyer, ran behind a good horse in Dickinson. It had to wait a little bit to kind of get out there and make the hole and make the run. And I think the winner was just too good that day off that layoff. So I like where this one is heading now. Let's look back at that August 6th race here. We talk so much about, this one finished 7th in a field of 9, but only by 3.5 lengths. If you go back and watch that replay, you'll hear Comus get right on top of it. The saddle actually slips out from underneath Julian Leperoux, and he's holding the horse, by the neck for dear life.
Wow.
But this horse was coming on quick. I think if this one obviously won't, probably 9 times out of 10, won't have that mishap again, right? But that day, he was coming with a lot of force. And look who he's running behind: Lady Lara, Zendaya, Sony Victoria, horses that do it over and over again in the Naira circuit. Then that August 27th race, the Boston Spa, that was Lady Eli's return. Cintiero Italia, Stripe Charm with the best of trips that day. So I think that last run out was a prep to get this one more toward, graded stakes. But I think Clement was impressed enough to where let's get an overnight stakes first and then let's see what we can do. So I have a lot of respect for your horse. You almost pulled the trigger on my horse. I almost pulled the trigger on your horse. So hopefully it's 1-4 to the wire, Bob, and we both cash some way, somehow.
The only other horse I wanted to ask you about, because we've already talked about the 9 and the 7, they're both going to have to come from off of it, I think at least. Let's talk about the 3 horse, Cali 37, another horse that I think, if you look back into the running lines, going back into last spring, has shown the ability to be close to the lead or closer to the lead. And again, I cannot stress enough, the way I'm reading this, the way Andrew's reading this, you're going to have to be on or near the lead to be successful here, unless the 9 is just so far superior. But nonetheless, your thoughts on the 3 horse, not only from a pace standpoint, but can this horse run in the money, in your opinion?
Yeah, I actually took a look at this one. I was really intrigued by the connections. I think this one does have an abundance of speed, for the 5 furlong distance. But this one just really hasn't been running like she's used to been running. If you look back, these Monmouth Park races and Parks races, she's just sent from the bell. But as of late, she's really not been able to hold too many leads. And, they're coming. It's not like, we spoke about earlier. Well, this one was out to the lead, and then a bunch of grade 2, grade 1 horses passed and went late. This one's running overnight stakes at Monmouth and Suffolk and giving up leads late. So I think this one just isn't good enough. Hoping this one won't be a pain and a thorn in my side to my 4. And a little bit more on my 4. I'm not saying this horse, off the class drop is the most likely winner and 15 to 1's a joke. My horse is going to have to earn it. Let that be known. But I really hope the 3 doesn't really want to show the, let's set a 21 and 4, quarter, something crazy like that. But I do have respect for this horse. But I really think this one's just really dropping out of form too severely. So just not going to include.
So Andrew's on the 4, Midnight Miley at 15 to 1 morning line. I'm rolling with the 1 horse, the Shug horse, Exili, at 6 to 1 morning line. So that's going to do it for Gulstream Park Race 10. on Saturday, December 17th. It's the $100,000 South Beach Stakes. That's Andrew Calvano. I'm Bobby Shoemaker. Good luck.
Good luck, guys.